Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Humanitarian Horizons. I'm your host, Christina DiArcangelo. Today's episode is deeply personal. It's not about business, advocacy, or the work I do every day. It's about grief, love, and legacy of my family. Some of you know bits and pieces of my story, but I wanted to share it with you openly because grief touches all of us. And sometimes the hardest thing is knowing that you're not alone. On October 13th, 2015, my life changed forever. My father, Albert J. DiArcangelo Sr., passed away from cancer. Watching him battle cancer was one of the most painful experiences I have ever endured. At that time, my son Christian was only 2.5 years old, and I kept trying to move forward for him. But after my dad died, I didn't allow myself to truly grieve. I buried the pain, pushed forward, and convinced myself that I could just keep going. It wasn't until years later, after separating from my ex-husband, that I finally went to therapy and began to face my father's death. Imagine holding the weight for years, telling yourself you're strong enough when in reality, grief is patiently waiting for you. And yet in 2015, in the same year that I lost my father, I also founded Affinity Patient Advocacy in his honor. At that time, I thought I was creating it for his legacy. What I didn't know what would happen is that I would end up using the platform to advocate for my own mother and brother during their own battles with their illnesses. My father's passing ignited a fire in me to help others, even though I struggled privately with my own pain. During that time, when I opened up Affinity Patient Advocacy, I originally started the organization to help cancer patients like my dad, patients that were dying from cancer or diagnosed much earlier on, but they were cancer patients. And yet I still advocated for them because I thought my intended purpose on this planet was to help others, which it is. Fast forward to January 9th of 2022, my brother Albert J. DiArcangelo Jr., my only sibling, died. I had received a call from the hospital as they were looking for a next of kin, and they located me, and I ended up working with the physicians at that time to try and figure out what was going on with his health. At this time of his life, he had just turned 43 and had been battling congestive heart failure from his early 30s, a condition that was brought on by abusing opiates. The reason why he had been abusing opiates was because he had lived with severe mental health illnesses, which weighed on him heavily, and obviously for all of us that loved him. As a result, he caught COVID, and with his heart already compromised, he didn't survive. Losing him was so different than losing my father. With my dad, it was cancer and advocacy and saying goodbye. With my brother, it was complicated. It was a tangle of addiction, mental illness, abuse, and the heartbreak of watching someone you love struggle for decades. And then, just 1 year later, January 13th of 2023, I lost my mother, Paula S. DiArcangelo. Her death was unlike anything else. She died alone in her apartment from a heart attack, but the truth is far more complicated. She had been prescribed a cocktail of medications, opiates, gabapentin, SSRIs, by her physicians, medications that together were dangerous. An investigation is still ongoing as it relates to her death. What breaks my heart the most is not just that she died, but her circumstances leading up to it. Some of you know that in March of 2022, I rescued her from the basement where she was being held against her will by two men, David Frame and Christopher Roos. She lived in fear all that time after getting rescued from the basement because she was afraid that they, David Frame and Christopher Roos, would find her. They would locate her because none of the criminal charges were filed. As a matter of fact, the Chester County DA's office didn't file the charges until February 9th of 2023, weeks after my mother's death. She died alone, carrying the weight of knowing what she had endured and fearing what was going to happen to her and thinking that the Chester County DA's office didn't care about her. They didn't care enough to file charges against these perpetrators who had abused my mom for more than a year. She also battled her own mental health struggles. And as a result of her rescue from the basement, she, in fact, had been diagnosed with 2 additional mental health illnesses. This is something that haunts me terribly. So here I am today, a daughter who has lost her father, her brother, and her mother. all in such different ways, all of them in urns at home, in my home, and 2 out of 3 of them who've passed away, I'm on their death certificate. Grief is not neat. It doesn't follow a script. Sometimes it's heavy and loud. Sometimes it's quiet and numbing. It can make you feel broken. But grief has also taught me that love doesn't die with the body. Love lives on in the work I do every day, in advocacy that I pour my heart into, in the memories I share with Christian, in my podcasts that I speak about all various humanitarian issues, and many of them had things to do with my own personal family. And my hope in all of this is to be able to help every person along the way. If you're listening right now and you've lost someone, please know that your grief is valid. It doesn't matter if it was yesterday or if it was 20 years ago. You do not have to carry it alone. Therapy helped me when I finally allowed myself to face the grief that I had hidden for so long. Advocacy, my podcast, my magazine, the book I wrote about the crime that was committed against my mother called Rescuing Mom. All of these things gave me purpose. Sharing these stories with all of you helped me heal, believe it or not. So I dedicate today's episode to my father, who I miss terribly, Albert J. DiArcangelo Sr., to my brother, Albert J. DiArcangelo Jr., and to my mother, Paula S. DiArcangelo. Their lives shaped me. Their struggles and their love continue to guide me. Thank you for listening and for allowing me to share this part of my heart with you. If you're struggling with grief, please reach out for support. You're not alone. This is Humanitarian Horizons, and I am Christina DiArcangelo. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other. Bye-bye.